So today we are going to talk about slavery in South Carolina, where African Americans are going to play a significant role in developing the economy. Again, we talked about how Native Americans were originally used as um, workers in these plantations, how the diseases such as smallpox coming over killed them, and they knew the land so well that they're able to escape, and they're not used to cultivating, which means prepare and use land for crops of the land. So originally, we again our settlers from Barbados are going to be successful because down in Barbados they grew sugar cane. And that system that they brought to South Carolina is going to be very similar to growing rice and indigo within South Carolina. So the Europeans would bring their slaves with them to go ahead and get a head start on making a profit and helping them become successful. Additionally, slaves are going to come through the western part of Africa, the west coast of Africa, and travel through the Middle Passage. And on our next slide, there's a map that we're going to go over. Slaves from the western coast of Africa are going to be very valuable by South Carolina planters because they already had the skill. So that's half of the battle. You get them over here, and then since they know the skill, they can go ahead and jump right on into working on those plantations and helping those wealthy white plantation owners become even more rich. And they are going to be sold at Pest House in Sullivan's Island. So as they came over from Africa, they go to Sullivan's Island, where they would get pretty much, I don't want to say modeled, but they would pretty much get sold there. They would stand, somebody would read off this, the specifics about the individual height, the weight, that type of stuff, and that's where they would get sold. On our next slide, you're able to see the slave trade. As we can see, again, we're talking about the western coast of Africa, and we're able to see them shifting over to North America. Okay, we'll see them shifting to North America. And as we can tell, it wasn't just the English colonies here. We're going to French colonies, we're going to Portuguese, we're going to Spanish colonies as well, particularly in the Caribbean. So the Atlantic slave trade played a big part of that. So Africans are going to bring them their knowledge to cultivate the land and tending cattle. Specifically, rice again is going to be that big cash crop. Rice is that Carolina gold in South Carolina. What African are going to be used to harvest the neighbor stores, which is articles used for shipping. And what the neighbor stores are, it kind of protects the ship from water being able to get into them. And then lumber as well. Lumber is going to play a part of the Carolinas economy as well, on top of the plantation, to help for a thriving trade between Barbados and Britain. So bringing the slaves, though, helps the wealthy plantation owners grow their land, so then they have crops. They're able to trade it with those in Barbados and Britain, able to make money. Large-scale importation of African slaves will begin in about the 1690s, and thousands of them are going to come for years upon years upon years upon years. We also see the increase of indigo. Indigo becomes a big part of our cash crops in South Carolina. So rice is number one, indigo follows right behind that in number two. And as we can see, this is all about greed. It's all about greed for the wealthy plantation owners. That's what they want. They're not really too concerned about the humanitarian concerns, and what I mean by that, about the mental, the physical, and the emotional well-being of the individuals on their plantation. Now, I will say this, because sometimes we stereotype, not all wealthy plantation owners treated their slaves horribly. Now, they still treated them wrongly and inhumane to certain extents, but there were some plantation owners that treated them with a little bit more respect than others. So we do just need to keep that in the back of our head as well. So since they're coming over, as we talked about with Britain and France and Spain coming over, they're bringing their cultures. The Africans are also bringing their culture from West Africa over. This includes their language, dance, music, wood carving, medicine, and basket weaving. So a lot of their culture is coming over. The rhythms are going to be heard as a call sign. So that's how they're going to be able to communicate with each other on different plantations. And then they're going to respond in songs. and the songs are going to help keep their spirits alive, keep their spirits high, and help them really sustain the work that they're doing, because it is grueling work. It is tough work in the summertime, the heat, the humidity, and then the long hours. Drums are going to keep beating in the field, and that's again how we're going to be able to communicate with other plantations until eventually they do get banned because of the Stoner Rebellion, and that's what we talk about tomorrow. Gullah is going to become the spoken language of our African slaves, and what that is unique because it's going to be spoken by many African slaves, and it's a combination of their African dialect mixed in with English. And so that's why Gullah is really unique to the Carolinas, because we're assimilating into the English culture as well. So not only are the whites learning the Africans' culture, the Africans also learning the English or the whites' culture as well. So eventually they do start to mix. And I believe that is our last slide, and that is our last slide. So kind of the big three takeaways here. But we start back here at the top, is that originally our settlers in South Carolina came from Barbados and brought their slaves with them because they already have the understanding of how to cultivate land. So that is our first takeaway. Our second takeaway is that they came from the west coast of Africa. African slaves came from the west coast of Africa because they have that skill and knowledge already. That is our second takeaway. And our third big takeaway is that the Africans brought their culture with them, and that's how they kept the spirits alive and well while working out on the plantation field.